Dates on.
There you go.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. And we have 3 commissioners, so we do have a quorum. That should be noted. So first, what we'll do is ask for any public comments on items not on the agenda.
You have some other comments? I do.
And for an item on the agenda or not?
On the agenda.
Would you like to come over here and I can take your name? Sorry, we don't have cards. And the first person that'd like to speak about an item not on the agenda is Alice Manzel.
Great.
Sorry for.
Good evening, commissioners. I've now spoken to, I think, all the city local planning since June. I've been very concerned since I started volunteering in the orchard with the harvest in July of 2023 of the continuing encroachments and frankly demolition by neglect of our historic orchard. So I've been digging into the laws and city documents. And I've written a long public comment for you, which you could look at your leisure. But basically, it's a story of the city hall is rather opaque about over $8 million worth of projects that are going on now in the city center. There's been little to no design review by any commission. The only one is Park and Rec got to take a look at the dog park plans in June of this year. But the Lacey conversion, nothing. The EOC, nothing. And this is very concerning because city staff says it's not your purview, even though you are the historic council. So I got the plans. First, city staff told me they were copyrighted. Nobody could see it. So I put on my lawyer hat and said, you've got to be kidding. So I got the Lacey plans and the EOC plans in June. Then I noticed that there was additional work being done in the orchard. Talked to the contractor. They said there was an add-on to the Lacey contract. So in August, I got another set of plans that were dated March 2024. Why those weren't given to me in July is kind of funny. In your packet and in your public comment, I have all these things. You can look at them at your leisure, as well as the dog park presentation that was for the Park and Rec. This is a very serious matter because you are the body charged by law, not just city law, but state law, to oversee CEQA, particularly even negative exemptions that staff may say are negative. You know, if staff says no trees will be removed, get a CEQA exemption to avoid environmental review. You still have a duty to look into the impacts on anything on a historic list, particularly our historic orchard, which is on a state list. In addition, you know, if the staff makes mistakes, whether they're an oops or deliberate, you have the oversight duty to do it and listen to the public that is asking you to do that. And I'm now asking you to do that. On page 3 of my public comment to you, I list 9 things where there's been encroachments and demolition by neglect in the orchard that has happened without any review by any of you, even though it's your legal duty to do it. So what needs to be done? What can you do? I am requesting you today to call on the council. That is not a pencil whip administrative historian such as the J.D. Powers report that is in your packet. I take it that's my time. So thank you for your attention, and I hope you enjoy reading my public comment.
Do we have any other issues not on the agenda?
Yes, we have a public speaker, a Catherine Nunez.
I'm Kathleen Noon, and I'm a resident. I also have been working I think for 15 years on historical environmental preservation, both in the city as well as in the region, and have ties into the state of California with the California Preservation Act, Preservation Group. So I have some questions, and I'm in the news a lot about sort of speaking out for the orchard and sort of its scope and its needs as a historic resource, as well as for Halsey House and other things. But today, I wanted to bring to your attention, I have written a public comment letter to the council for tomorrow night, and I meant to get it to you guys as well, but I made sure that it got into your packet. And it was in response to I was asked to respond by Bruce Barton of the Town Crier to the news that a historian had been hired for the secret review of the library patio project. And I said, man, that would be a welcome thing. Can you tell me a little bit more about the scope? Who is it? What are they doing? Is the Historic Commission involved? How does this work? And got no answer back from either the city staff with my letter, nor from, and the Town Crier couldn't get the answers either. So we were kind of in this stuck position. So I wrote this public comment letter to do an ask of both the city staff to find out more about this historian, which I think has your oversight need on it, as well as to ask the city council, kind of repeating what Alice said, for what the state would call a full historic resource evaluation. And an intensive, as you guys know, I know you've done them, probably the last one was done in 2007, maybe, or 2009, but the commission has done full surveys, not just boundary lines, but it also includes the context of the historic nature, character defining features, tree sites, trees, restrictions, all of that. I think we need some foundational work done because there is massive confusion that's gone on about this, and it has allowed people, including the staff, to just sort of build as they come what may and do what they want on the property, saying things are in boundary, out of boundary. So this request that I've made is in here, the public comment. I invite you to read it. It comes along with a letter that was sent in March of 2024 from the Preservation Action Council of San Jose, who I'm a member of, and we are on their endangered list. They extend sometimes out for the region. They've done it for Moffett Field, and they're doing it for our historic resource as well. And they have written a letter suggesting that for best practice for someone in this situation that's a certified local government, we should well do an HRE, historical resource evaluation. We should well do an intensive survey. So I'm inviting you to read that letter clearly. And then also, I think this does fall under your purview, and I know it's on your work plan. So that's the great news about this commission is very few people say, well, it's not on your work plan for other commissions, but in your case, it's on your thing. All right, thank you so much for letting me speak.
Excuse me, Mr.
Yeah.
You have something you wanted to?
Yes, I do, but I sent it into Melissa tonight, but I welcome you to just take a copy of it.
I could put it in the record for.
Yeah, sure, Sean, no problem. So that's the letter that was sent to the council, and then.
Do you want it in the historical commission?
Yes, it's supposed to go in your record. I sent it to her tonight and said, could you make sure it goes in the record, just so that everybody gets a chance to read it. And this is sort of my note to the historical commission. That's all.
Just so the commission's aware too about public documents per the agenda which each of you have.
Yes.
Public comments that are received before 2 o'clock are provided to you tonight. Items that are received after 2 o'clock are provided tomorrow.
Yeah.
In
That will
the,
come tomorrow.
yeah, and I think Alice's in the email came at like 3 something, so it was after the 2 o'clock, so it's published tomorrow.
Yeah, so you'll probably get
But
all of
we'll
it.
route it to you. We'll push it out to you guys also.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
The meeting was at 7, so I thought I had till 2.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
So items for consideration. So these items will be considered by one motion unless any member of the commission or audience wishes to remove an item for discussion. There are two items, historical commission meetings from January 22nd and approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of April 15th. Does anyone have a comment about removal or
Had a chance to read them, I'm fine.
you fine?
Okay.
Fine, okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 2 minutes in the consent calendar.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so we will then, so both these motions have been approved.
Yes, I have down, Commissioner Lang making the motion, Commissioner Bartlett second, and then three.
Okay, off to our public hearing. This is for H 24004 by Walter Chapman of 762 Edgewood Lane. It's for historic alteration review for exterior alterations to modify and add new windows and doors and incorporate 2 new dormers to a historic landmark property. Project is exempt from environmental review. And would the commissioner, let me see, public hearing. So would the people who have brought forward the,
I may have to-
Yeah. Oh, sure. oh, sorry, going to.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had a meeting, so I apologize. So, good evening, Acting Chair Coe and Commissioners. My name is Sean Gallego, Senior Planner in the Planning Division. The project for you tonight is a historic alteration permit for exterior modifications to an existing historic landmark property, which does include alterations to windows and doors and modifications of the exterior of the and the addition of 2 new dormers along the rear elevation. Here we go. Before you is the site plan, not very large on the screen, but it does reflect that there are no proposed alterations or additions to the structure. We also, within the plan set that was provided to you, it does reflect in the floor plans, both first floor, which is on the left, the second floor, which is on the right, that there are no exterior additions to the building. Primary modifications are occurring on the interior with a series of exterior modifications, both the addition, alteration, and relocation of windows, addition of new windows and doors on the structure. In red is the location of the new items, sometimes relocated items. So the upper second story at the lower are the addition of 2 new, two new dormers along the upper story. At the lower story is the replacement of 2 windows with a set of 3 windows, the addition of 2 additional new windows and a new French door. On the existing right elevation, the lower is the proposed. We have modifications to 2 windows. Those are relocated windows, so they're not new. And those locations have been changed. And on the far right, we have the addition of a relocated window also, and that is altering from the smaller set window above. All this is in your plan set. And then on the left side, the red reflects the loss of the 2-panel window on the left side, the loss of the single door that's in the center, and then the loss of the small window and replacement with 2 French doors. Now, historic alteration permits require meeting certain findings as per 12.44 of the ordinance. Requires that the project complies with all provisions of chapter 12.44, that the project does not adversely affect the physical integrity or significance of the subject property, and the project in compliance with Secretary of Interior's treatments of historic properties. Staff did, and the applicant did provide to staff a report from Bonnie Bamberg of Urban Programmers. The Secretary of the Interior's report did find that the project complies with all provisions of the historic ordinance, chapter 12.44. It does not affect the integrity or historic significance, and the project is in compliance with the Secretary of the Interior standards. The project does not adversely affect the physical integrity. This 1866 to 1876 house is associated with the Queen Anne architectural style, and it continues to retain the historic fabric and the primary architectural features of the building as described in the staff report. The proposed alterations do not adversely affect the physical integrity or the character defining features of the historic significance of the property, and again, is consistent with the Secretary of Interior standards. The project is categorically exempt under 15331 of CEQA due to the project being consistent with the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. In addition, the project is consistent with section 15301 for existing facilities of the California Environmental Quality Act due to alterations to an existing single-family home as described in the report. Staff does support the project, and this concludes staff presentation.
Does the applicant wish to address the commission?
My name is Walter Chapman. I prepared the design for the owners. And we are very sensitive about salvaging and relocating any of the historic windows. The primary goal was to open up the kitchen and family room space to each other, to the backyard. So we've, all new windows for this project have been relegated to the kitchen and family room area of the house, which is on the back and on a covered porch. So that way there's no disruption or visual alteration to the historical presence of the house. The dormer windows were done to create a more viable floor plan. The house over the decades has been altered in very, let's say, unusual ways to accommodate the needs of the previous owners, and we're bringing that up to be a more functional house and design for today's standards. The property owners are here if you have any questions for them. Otherwise, we'll look forward to moving to the next stage.
Do the commissioners have any questions? Questions? I just had one. So by installing the dormers in the back, will those be the only dormers on the house?
There are other dormers, actually. There's one, actually, a very tiny one in the attic above these two. And some of the other elements on the house, actually, true dormers, these are probably the only two true dormers on the back. So that does alter a little bit. I mean, it's still consistent with Victorian architecture. This particular house only has one attic dormer at the moment, and that's being retained. So, in lieu of doing more aggressive changes to the structure, the dormers seem the most viable way to get light and egress, which is required by building department codes.
Okay. I'd like to open up this item for public comment, if any. Yeah, yes.
Make a brief comment in support. I've been involved in real estate since fourth grade. My first job was in a real estate office renting company on Main Street in 1973. So I've not dated myself. My family's company has been involved in 2 different sales transactions of that property.
Oh, wow.
So I'm very familiar with that property, and a lot of that kitchen space and the top floor is because it was the days when there were servants and staff. And for today's lifestyle, this is way overdue, so thank you so much for doing it, and thank you for planning it. I hope you appreciate it.
So if that's all, then we'll close the public comment period and begin deliberations. So, Mr. Lang, do you have any?
I enjoyed reviewing the plans. I think our best historic preservation in this town happens when owners take pride in ownership. It certainly adds to the burden of doing it, so that's appreciated. I think Belle Merriman would like it. She was a pistol, and I wish more Los Alamos knew about her. But no, I'm as usual, Walter, and I think it's a great project, and glad to see it before us.
For myself, I think this is a fantastic package, and thank you all for helping out. We know anything our friend Walter would be involved with would be just fine. And I'm really thrilled to see a historical property updated to livability and standards, you know, windows, egress, energy efficiency, light, space, all the things that make a property actually livable, you know, day to day. So I think it's a great plan, and I appreciate your work that went into preparing this.
I would agree, with both of you. I think, I also really very much appreciate keeping the historic character of the house, but making it more livable for somebody in 2024. And cause that is an impediment in some of these older houses that they're just not workable for today's living. So I very much appreciate, all your efforts.
I just want to make a comment, if I may, is that we're really working with a structural engineer to really, what makes me sleep at night is knowing that we're going to secure the foundation. Because that foundation, even though it has not fallen yet, Walter mentioned, well, you never know what's gonna fall down the next earthquake. And so we're really going to put in a lot of time and effort and money in securing the foundation for, you know, when we're, you know, after, you know, when we get old, we downsize or what have you, for the next family to live there safely. So I'm just grateful that we found Walter to help us along the process. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, so all commissioners have had a chance to comment. I'd like to ask for a motion.
Like to move to approve this project using whatever words Sean thinks are the best words to use for approving projects like this.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. All of us are in favor, 3-0. Approved. Motion passes.
I want to thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, good luck. May it go very smoothly for you.
The next part, the next project plan.
Phase.
Foundation work is never. Commissioners' report and comments. I am unaware of any.
I'll just make the comment that this is it for me. I think you as well. It's been a ride and a lot of things accomplished, more to do, but I'm sure the next commission batch will do a good job of it. So good luck with that. And, you know, Sean, thank you. It's this commission, because it's been a pleasure getting to know you through this work, and thank you for the good work.
Thank you.
We're not done with our house on Eureka Court. We may be back to planning, but not historical, but.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
COVID wasn't so fun, but.
Yeah. Okay, so potential future agenda items.
So a future item will be, of course, the Mills Act. We did, it's not, so because it's on an agenda, we can't really talk about it, or the commission can't talk about it, but just to give you information. We did send out mailings out to them. We've been buried, so.
This is the existing Mills Act.
Existing Mills Act property, they're quinquennial inspections. We did send out an email, we received responses. I have to go through all the responses and then do a second mailing, because some of them didn't respond. So at the meeting in October, we will provide you their responses. It's informational, if you know, it's pure information so that we hold them accountable and that they're being consistent with their maintenance program. And we'll talk about it more, at least as perspective in regards to that. This is the first time we've done a quinquennial inspection, so we're kind of staff expectations to try to give them some leeway in this round with the commission's direction. But in the next round, in 5 years from now, if they're not consistent with the maintenance program, then we'd recommend probably at that point taking action maybe with the council. But so we're probably halfway through our process, and then we'll have that for you. We expected to have it to you at this meeting, which is in the work plan, so we apologize. It was more of a lift than we realized. Even the few of them, it was still a lot.
Was there another one that was maybe going to be applying? Did that appear on the agenda and disappear, or am I just imagining things?
No, we haven't had another Mills. We have another, addition that's coming in, a single story addition. I don't remember, it's not my project, but, it was a stop work order. They had torn off the back of the house. And, yes, and so then I think we received a report of it. We went out, put a stop work on it. They already had done quite a bit of work. But we stopped them from doing any further work. And then they're working through the process, and that may come in October, but they're pretty far from having complete drawings. So everything takes time. Same thing, at some point in the future, the patio will come before you from the library. All that takes time. In order for it to go to you, any project to go to you, it has to be reviewed by staff, it has to meet all the basic submittal requirements. We have to have all the historical reports in and acceptable. And only once it's deemed complete, which is far from that, then we bring it to you for consideration. Anything that's a landmark or a resource always comes to you for consideration. But, you know, the submittal's not even complete yet for the patio. We have no idea when they're resubmitting, hopefully soon. And the environmental document is not complete either. And all that will come to you in a public meeting. Sometime, probably next year. Probably not next year. Yeah, I don't think even if they submitted now, we have 30 days. I don't think there's any way they can get onto the October meeting. It's probably going to be the January meeting, I think.
What is the date for the October meeting? Do we have that yet?
I don't think that we've established that. Probably that'll be on the agenda in October when the elections occur, when new members join and elections occur for the chair and vice chair. Then we'll have on the agenda your selection of the meeting dates for next year. Because remember, you can choose any selection of quarterly meetings.
Okay, good. Yeah, because October is kind of a easy time.
Happen to know what the schedule is for adding new commissioners to this commission and other commissioners?
No, I mean, I did inquire and I didn't get feedback back from them. I know that they are currently accepting applications, and I know that some individuals from the History Museum reached out to me, and then I directed them to the city clerk's office. So I know they'll be having interviews in September, and then I don't know the schedule for the historical commissioners to be interviewed. But they'll be selected for the October meeting unless we don't have a lot of volunteers, which I've heard has happened with some commissions where we've not had enough volunteers for some of the commissions.
Just as an aside, what I asked staff, the marketing, PR staff at the museum to do was to reach out, because we have like emails and newsletters that go out, and figured that the people who join the History Museum are more likely volunteers to apply for a commission.
Could you send me the executive director? I knew Elizabeth, of course, over the years, but I don't know who the new executive director, and I wanted to forward an email with the contact information and with just information about the city clerk, so that because I know both historical commission feeds History Museum, and History Museum members feed into historical. They're both symbiotic to an extent, because you're both very related to historic preservation and history. So yeah, I think most of the members have come from them.
Yeah, so yeah, the thought was, as long as the museum has the resources, like an email list of members and things like that.
Okay. I'll get that tomorrow.
Any other issues? So I guess it's time to adjourn.